I think we're live. All right. Yeah, we're live. All right. I'm just checking my feed here. This is my first time live streaming from the room. So it's Joe from the Joe and Richie channel. Please subscribe to our channel. I am live streaming because I want to discuss Star Trek Discovery, Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2, and basically Star Trek Discovery in total. I just want to check my feed here. Looks like we're up and working. Yep, I'm behind a little bit, but let me just keep that there just to make sure what's happening. All right, so here I am. Let me give a few minutes here just to see what's going on. So I was gonna do every episode of this show. That was my original plan, was to do a review every night, and I was advertising it. And I'm lazy. I don't have really any excuses other than I'm kind of lazy, and and just editing it, and so I didn't do it. My bad. I didn't do it. And on top of that, I didn't even keep up with the episodes. I watched them in chunks. I just couldn't find myself just every Thursday just wanting to watch it. I wanted to do other things with my life. And then on the weekends, I would catch up and watch 3 or 4 episodes at a time. So needless to say, because of that, I did not do nightly after the episode reviews of Star Trek Discovery Season 2 like I did for the first half of Season 1. If you want, I'll link the video. I'll link it down here so you can look at them. You can watch my reviews of Season 1. You can see me butcher everybody's names because I was doing them. In my defense, I was doing them like 11 o'clock the night after the show aired, and trying to get them up before going into work to be like, the first people to have a review up. And because of doing that, I'm saying Michael Burnham instead of Michael I was saying Rick Berman. I was thinking Rick Berman, and I was saying Michael Berman instead of saying Michael Burnham. Giorgio, forget it. I butchered that name. So basically, I spent all this time just absolutely butchering names when I reviewed Season 1. I got through it though, and I did it, and I was happy I did. Season 1 was cool. Weird though. I mean, so dark, and it was so dark, and you wanted something fun. So Season 2 overall was a hell of a lot more fun. But I wanted adventure. I wanted new adventure. I wanted not the end of the world always happening. And that's not what you got. You got light, and you got airy, and you got a little more fun, but you still had end of the world, end of the universe. Every piece of life is going to die as the main point of the show. So you kind of had to suffer through that this season, which was, not what I want. I was just hoping they'd give me new adventures, a show that had new adventures every week. But they saddle themselves. They can't do that because they make it about a character who's Spock's adopted sister, who Spock never talks about, who's on a ship that no one's ever mentioned before, that has technology that's beyond anything we've ever seen before. And basically, you spend 2 seasons learning about this, and at the end of this episode, spoilers, now you understand why we've never heard of these ships or these people, why Spock never talked about his adopted sister. Not that he would have talked about her. I mean, it's not like he's going to be in the, he's going to be on, Star Trek 2 when they're just, trying to find, dealing with Khan. He's just going to start talking about his sister. I mean, so it never really bothered me that these are characters I never heard of. It never bothered me. Because you just have to assume that there's a larger scale out there. And if people have characters or if people have family they've never talked about or ships you've never talked about, you'd have to think it's such a large scale that there's always room to put people in there. Well, the producers of that didn't think so. So let's just cut right to it. The end of the episode. The end of the episode, they go into the future. I'm just going to skip the build up. So after me wanting a new Star Trek show, me wanting to have a show that was light and airy and new adventures, and you don't know what's going to happen, and this and that, And then getting 2 seasons of this, of them shoehorning in and throwing in other things of canon, giving us Pike, and even letting Pike know what his future is going to be, and a sister for Spock he never knew about. We've just found out that Discovery has gone 900. This was not in an episode, but it's been released by the producers that season 3 is going to take place 950 years in the future of Star Trek. So whenever from I guess the 34th century, 3300 they're going to. So I had to suffer 2 seasons. The first season being dark and dreary, and everybody going through a war, and the second season being airy and light and fun, but still the catastrophe always emitted away. And finally, in season 3, it looks like we're going to have new adventures, a crew out there somewhere in the very distant future from the timeline that they can have new adventures, and wonderful. So now I can't wait for season 3. Let's see where it goes. I hope they just leave the future, they leave the past behind. I just hope they leave the past behind. I'm worried they're not going to, because of course we have the Michelle Yeoh series is going to be happening, and she's with them. We still have the Ash Tyler as a character who didn't go with them, so does that mean he's just not going to be in season 3? Are they going to try to somehow shoehorn what happened in the past into this show with them possibly being in the future? Who knows? I hope not. I hope they just say, you know what? That's it. That's the end of Discovery. We don't care about them anymore in the 23rd and 24th century. Let's move on and let's see what happens in the future, because that's really cool. That would be a great twist. That would be a great twist that we started with 2 seasons of about a show on characters who from a time has already come and gone that we never heard of. And there's always limits. There's always limits when you have a show like that. But there's not limits when you put it in the future, and you can just do whatever the hell you want. You can go wherever you want with it. You have the characters there. So we spent 2 seasons. If anything, they spent 2 seasons building characters, building intriguing characters, and now rocketing them into the future and seeing where it goes from here, because now it's a clean slate. Now there's no canon to deal with. So hopefully that's what they stick with, because then that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. It took 2 years to get there, but it would be beautiful. And I don't think this is what they meant to do, but they probably realized it was probably the right thing to do. So what are they going to do? They're going to go get another 3rd different captain and this and that. So it was absolutely the right thing to do. Move them into the future. Now we finally have a proper Star Trek show about something new that could be whatever they want it to be. Coupled with the fact that they're going to have a Picard series, which is going to take place roughly, I guess it's been 20 years since the movie Nemesis came out, around then, or when did Nemesis come out? It hasn't been 20 years. I think it's been, when was it, 2003? I don't get mad at me because I don't remember the exact time, but it's been a while. So they're going to have a show that takes place. Just think of it like this. Whatever the time was from Nemesis to now is going to be in the Star Trek Next Generation timeline. Take that to where they're going to go with the Picard show. Fantastic. Adventures, no canon in front. They can do whatever the hell they want. So suffered 2 seasons of some interesting things, some good episodes, some bad episodes, some stupidity, some good stuff happening. Watching a character in season 1 basically betray her captain and get thrown in jail, and then having a mirror universe captain, and then having Pike in there, and Pike being fantastic. Everybody liked Pike. Everybody wants to see a Pike series, which essentially would be Star Trek. He's on the Enterprise. What are we going to do? We're going to have it. Are they really going to do that? Are they going to make a Star Trek show without Kirk instead of making it about Pike? Because that's what it would be. Because if a show is about the Enterprise, it's Star Trek. Or Star Trek The Next Generation. But, whatever you want to call it, Star Trek The Pike Years. Are they going to do that because of how well received he was? Who knows? That would be interesting. Star Trek the Pike Years. Okay, we'll see if that happens, but hopefully not. But the episode itself, what can I say about the episode itself? 35 minutes of just a giant hodgepodge of crap happening on the screen, explosions, ships upon ships upon ships. It was like somebody just took a big vomit and vomited ships all over the screen. It was tough. It was tough to watch. It was really, really a tough watch. It was just because you can do a thing does not mean you should do a thing. And that's what it kind of felt like. I'm thinking back to like episodes on The Next Generation where there would be insinuation of a big battle, like the Best of Both Worlds, and you don't even see the battle. They just get wiped out. The Wolf 349 or 359, you just see the Admiral call in and say, "We're taking casualties. The battle goes poorly at the prize." Or, think about another one with an armada was the one where the Romulan one. They were trying to stop the Romulans from getting in supplies to the Duras sisters. And that was another episode where there was an armada. And you barely even saw the armada. I don't even know if you saw all the ships. It was just about the cat and mouse game. It was about them trying to catch the Romulans getting through, and more about the drama of Data as a captain of his own ship and coming up against a prejudiced first officer. So you didn't have bang, bang, bang with the armada. You just had more of the concept, the ideas, because maybe they didn't have the budget to do that. But does not mean because you can do a thing, you should do a thing. Just because you can have a battle with hundreds upon hundreds of ships does not mean you should do it. They're getting peppered by bombs. And their shields are still at like 30% at the end. Freaking explosion after explosion after explosion after explosion, and their shields are still holding. It was insane. It was just too much. So when she finally makes her jump and goes back, starts going through time and doing her thing, I thought to myself, all right, good. Let's just stick with this. Maybe they can expand upon this. Maybe they can make this interesting. It was literally her just jumping and then giving you like a little brief recap of the episode she jumped back to, and then going to another point. I thought they were going to maybe do something. Maybe she'd have an adventure to get to the point where she jumped. And they could have went through that for the show. That would have been far more interesting if the battle started, they got out there, she started making her jumps, and her jumps, when she got to their jump, there had to be like a little adventure she went on to get to that point where she showed herself to make the events happen. But no, she just made the jump, and then she made the next jump, and she made the next jump. I would have rather they had 10 minutes of that stupid battle and spend 30 minutes of her going through little adventures to get to all those points we saw throughout the season. But they ended up being nothing but just little afterthoughts. So that kind of bothered me. And then as I'm watching it, I started to realize, I stopped about half hour through, and I started to realize where we're going. I had no spoilers, but I started to realize, wait a second. I know this is going. They're taking Discovery out of this timeline. I mean, I know they said they were going to do it, and that was the premise, and it felt like I didn't buy that they were actually going to do it because that seems so radical. But then you realize, wait a second, they're really going to freaking do this. And they did it. And then, good, I'm happy they did it. I didn't think they were really going to go through with it. I thought there was going to be something where at the last minute they got the Data out of the harm of control and they felt like they could come back and not be out of the timeline. But as this episode went along, I'm like, holy crap, they're really going to do it. They are going to leave this timeline. And they did it. Disappointing. I wanted to see where the hell they ended up, but we're going to have to wait for season 3 for that. They spent the last bit of the episode sort of wrapping up why we didn't hear about them, and it's fine. I mean, now we understand why why Spock never talked to Kirk about his sister. Like, when was he going to talk about her anyway? Seriously. He never talked about his half-brother. But technically, I don't have a brother. He's my half brother. He's been hanging out with Kirk all these years, and he never told him about his half brother. Why would it be a surprise we never heard him talk to him about his adopted sister? Why would that even be a surprise? But that's how they reconcile that little plot hole, which I don't think is a plot hole. You know, Spock didn't have to tell anybody about his family. It was an officer, a science officer, Starfleet officer, and a commander. We always saw him as a commander, and then in the movies, a captain for the most part. So what obligation would he be to be talking to people about his family? It wasn't about his family. It was about the adventure. So, but there you have it. They wrapped that up. So now we know why he never talked about his adopted sister, even though, why would he? Or why Sarek never talked about her, because why would he? We barely seen him on the screen. It's a great character, but it's not like he's been on the screen all the time. But there it is. Now you know why we've never heard. Now you know why I've never heard of Discovery that had a drive that was so advanced, more advanced than anything that ever happened, that could basically, it was like the Dune drive. It could fold space, go anywhere it wanted. Boom, boom. Okay, cool. So they wrapped everything up into a neat little bow, and they're off. And hopefully the third season is going to be a lot better. It's just going to really, really go on some real new adventures. I have a sip of my drink. Hopefully the third season is going to go on some adventures, do some things that we didn't, do new things, and maybe, hopefully. So here's my final thoughts. Let's hope they go in the future, and let's hope they move forward. Let's hope that they don't spend a season trying to go back. Just move forward. Be in the now. I want to see what happens in the year 30, whatever. 33 something. Be in the now. Go into the future. Own it. Give me new. I don't want to see Spock. I don't want to see Pike anymore. They were great. I don't want to see them. Go into the future. Let's see what this crew could do with a new adventure out on its own. Potential thoughts. Maybe they're integrated back into Starfleet. Maybe Starfleet still exists in this timeline, and there are people who know about it, because even though it's classified information, but somebody's going to know about it. Usually classified information will be passed along, so maybe there's someone who knows about it in the future, and when they